you could really read people's emotions? Well, now there's an app for that.
Don't have a great voice or any real musical talent? Well, there's an app for that.
You want to get the potholes filled? Well, there's an app for that.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that.
There is an app for that.
We've come a long way since Apple trademarked the catchy phrase, "There's an app for that." This was 2 years after Steve Jobs announced the first iPhone, a reinvention of the mobile phone that paved the way for future smart devices.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
The following year, he'd be announcing the App Store, accurately predicting that there would be an app for just about anything. Since then, over 100 billion apps have been downloaded from Apple's App Store onto users' iPhones or iPads. Apps were supposed to be the answer.
This is gonna be sensational.
They promised quick and easy solutions for everything we do in our lives, and they generally delivered on that promise. In fact, they might have done a little too well. Now, instead of having an app for everything, you have thousands of apps for anything. Each app is caught in a race for your attention, competing not just against other apps, but also against your friends, your family, your hobbies, and even your sleep. The CEO of Netflix went so far to say that in addition to Snapchat and YouTube, one of its major competitors was sleep. The boom of smartphones and apps has led to a clash for control between companies, a fight for our attention. This has led to the emergence of the attention economy. Here's James Williams on the attention economy.
There's something very profound and maybe irreversible happening to human attention in the digital age. I think it's more than just distraction, and it's more than even just addiction. It could actually be the defining political and moral challenge of our time.
The attention economy rests on the idea that our attention is a limited resource. There are only so many waking hours in the day, and therefore only so many things we can focus on. The attention economy is made up of anything trying to capture our limited attention. Instead of exchanging money, these apps fight for user attention to survive, which often includes using any means necessary to capture user attention and data for ad revenue. This is especially true for social media apps, where individual users are paying for the attention economy with their mental well-being and autonomy. Social media companies are incentivized to psychologically engineer their apps to literally fight against your brain and to develop increasingly persuasive techniques like notifications, targeted content, and personalized feeds. The goal of this technique is to keep you coming back, get your friends to use them, collect more data about you so that they can get better at capturing your attention and influencing your behavior. That last point is particularly key to their success. Everything we do online is monitored and analyzed. Up until now, having control on your data has been a total myth. Everything we've ever clicked on, how long we've hovered over a post in our feeds, how deep we've scrolled in our friends' profiles have been carefully logged and analyzed as data that helps companies study us better.
At the moment, there's nothing that you or I can do to stop these companies gathering these facts about us.
They're able to track behaviors like the types of videos we watch, the products we search for, who we talk to, and the news we click on. Apps then feed this information into complex algorithms that determine which content would make us spend more time on these apps. Because social media companies don't sell software, they sell influence. They collect in-depth data about how to influence your decisions, then sell that influence to the highest bidder.
And all this goes into the computer and is available to anyone who pays for the service.
The more time they can get you to spend scrolling and clicking, the more data they can collect and the more ads they can sell. Advertising is what makes these huge platforms their billions. There is no moral fiber to be found in the attention economy. All these progressively forceful tactics exist just so people spend more time on platforms.
Are hopelessly addicted to their electronic devices.
Feel addicted to their phone.
Be addicted to your cell phone.
But why is there an addiction in the first place?
They give you these great services for free, which is great. But the way the business model works is they need your time, they need your attention, they need your data. And in a way, they're being designed, inadvertently to kind of hack your attention, hack your data. That gets you for the first time this really addictive feeling of having to come back and always be on the phone.
It's not about our intentions or why we're on these sites. It's about tapping into our impulses and trying to dominate them. And as such, companies who compete in the attention economy often do so with little regard for the effect it has on our well-being. Over the last couple of years, consumers are finally becoming aware of the detrimental impacts of this phenomenon and are fighting back against it. You see this through the rise of dumb devices, the rise of mindfulness, and meditation practices. And even though the new iOS features like screen time, focus mode, and sleep mode, which enable users to choose when to let apps grab your attention. From turning the phone screen to grayscale to flushing all non-essential apps, Most of us are looking for ways to disengage from our devices and focus on other things without the constant bombardment of notifications or alerts on your phone. With increasing chunks of our lives being handled online, from banking to entertainment to health, we've spiraled into notifications hell. Dumb phones are one way to decrease the dopamine dependency while still remaining connected. A dumb phone is a mobile telephone that, unlike a smartphone, has little to no computing or internet capacity, hence no apps competing to grab your attention. And recent consumer trends indicate dumb phones are making a comeback. In the global market the past few years, sales of feature phones increased by 5%, while smartphones sales only went up 2%. The movement is coming as a backlash to unhealthy and highly tech-dependent lifestyles that relies on smartphones. Many celebrities are leading the way, such as Selena Gomez, who recently disclosed in an interview that she hadn't used the internet for over 4 years.
I haven't been on the internet in 4.5 years.
Low-tech startups like the Light Phone founded by Joe Hollier and Kai Wei Tang have gathered huge support through crowdfunding. The Light Phone is slightly smarter than the norm for dumb devices, as they allow users to listen to podcasts and music and connect to headphones via Bluetooth. Initially, it was meant to serve as a secondary phone you could take on your vacations or weekend getaways without the distraction of annoying apps. But soon, it became evident that a large number of people preferred using it over their primary phone, even during workdays. With limited features came limited distractions. But can you really go against the grain in such a tech-savvy world? Is dumping the smartphone a step too far? What's wrong with dumb phones or mindfulness as a solution for the attention economy? Despite their growing research into the negative impacts that screen-based technologies can have on our well-being, the trick that the tech sector have successfully pulled off is that they have made it our problem and not theirs. We're told to try things such as digital detoxes to learn how to use our devices responsibly and in more balanced ways, rather than acknowledging that these are systemic issues and not personal ones. Although dumb phones are free from the fluff of social media apps, they lack useful features like encrypted OTT messaging and maps to help us navigate. And those hoping that feature phones are more secured might be mistaken. Although feature phones cannot be hacked, they run on old cellular technology that can be intercepted fairly easily. Another celebrity who was famous for using its feature phone was Chris Pine, but recently switched back to using the smartphone because being analog was too difficult in this age.
I did it for 3.5 years, and then recently I got a smartphone again. They make it so incredibly difficult to be analog.
From Google Maps to cashless payments and reading QR codes, not owning a smartphone in this day and age can easily become a headache in and of itself. But here's the thing, we don't need to blindly accept technology as all or nothing. Subsequently, there's a rise in meditation and mindfulness practices and smartphone features that limit the time we spend on apps like screen time, focus mode, and sleep mode. However, each of these approaches still makes it our problem, while ignoring the root cause. It's ridiculous that we blame people for being addicted to their smartphones and apps when the simple truth is that they were engineered and designed to be addictive. Maybe rather than going backwards technologically by ditching the smartphone entirely, it's time to apportion responsibility where it is rightly due. Addiction is not an accident, it is an exploitation strategy. In the world of app economics, addiction is what brings in the money. It's easy to throw our hands in the air, declaring that this is simply how technology and capitalism works, but that's not correct. The reason that so much tech does not support well-being is because well-being is not considered in its design. To solve the problem, companies have to make well-being a design requirement that is measured and optimized. Slightly better police practices and body cameras don't prevent police misconduct. Buying a Prius or Tesla isn't really enough to bring down levels of carbon in the atmosphere. Replacing plastic straws with biodegradable ones is not going to save the oceans. Instagram's move to hide the number of likes is not transforming teenagers' mental health problems. When the service is predicated on constant social comparison and systemic hijacking of the human drive for connection, we need much deeper systemic reform. We need to shift institutions to serve the public interest in ways that are commensurate with the nature and scale of the challenges we face. Whether you're a big international platform or a hip new startup, the most vital first step is to give a damn. Then, if you still decide to use techniques that undermine human well-being, at least you'll be doing that consciously rather than through ignorance or denial.
The methods for collection used by some firms fall little short of subterfuge and deception.
The next step is to be honest about the techniques and psychological tricks you use in your apps. The technology world has developed all sorts of cunning ways to trap your attention. Netflix's autoplay feature makes it so easy to binge watch, and before you know it, you've gone through hours of a random show. Instagram's infinite scroll of images gives you just enough of a dopamine hit to keep on going so that you get to the next ad. These tricks have become so routine that designers rarely think about the impacts they have. In support of those changes, companies also need to develop metrics that represent a more holistic view. The last 2 decades have seen widespread adoption of measures related to environmental or social impact, and there's no reason why well-being impact of technologies cannot be accounted in the same way. Not only is it the right thing to do, but when companies become more well-being positive, they improve their relationships with their customers, add a competitive difference, and become more attractive to good talent, which can lead a virtuous cycle in the long run. While this might all feel like a challenging task, there are some reasons to be optimistic. The first is that this is a growing topic within the tech industry, with projects like designing mindfulness and time well spent becoming more and more popular. The second is that the trend in public conversation about technology and mental health is such that there will eventually be a point where people say enough is enough when it comes to their well-being written off as collateral damage in the current digital economy. Big things have small beginnings. To some extent, we are already in the beginnings of a revolution. A lot of people have become fed up and have moved over to paid media and apps. You can see how a similar transition occurred in the television industry as well, and in the decline of ad-supported programs. There will be some pain in the transition. There won't be an end to advertising, and there shouldn't be either, but we can definitely do better.